Today's program is sponsored by The Anthony Vincent Salon. Say hello to beautiful.
You're listening to Trend Radio, where we talk about what's hot and what's not. Get into the loop with us. I'm Anthony Vincent.
And I'm Elise, and we're your radio gateway to what's trending with beauty, fashion, health, wellness, and sex.
Mostly sex.
Learn and laugh with us anytime, any place. Go right to our website, anthonyvincentsalon.com. Click away and listen today.
You'll be glad you did.
Yes, you will be.
Well, what an interesting week it is today.
Yes, it is.
This week in history, the first radio commercial was aired in 1922.
Yeah, reporter John McDonough reports how AT&T ran the first ever radio commercial on its station WEAF in New York 90 years ago this week. It changed the way broadcast was economically structured.
Yeah, 90 years ago. Back in 1922, America's airways changed forever. WEAF broadcast the first paid radio commercial for the Hawthorne Court Apartments in Jackson Heights. Oh, we got a really good show for you today. We always do. And do you know that there's been a study that nuts can reduce the risk of death?
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Are you kidding me?
No. But first, my mouth is dry. Can I have a drink of water here for a second?
Of course.
Well, boy, that was really good. Before we talk about the risk of death.
Yeah, because you look like you're about to die. I'm a little scared right now.
Well, drinking, give me another sip of that water, please.
Oh, sure. Well, first I'm going to have my water.
That's right. Because drinking water at the correct time maximizes its effect on the human body.
Okay, so
and you're always talking about hydrating.
And I drink tons of water, but there's a correct time to drink water?
Ah, yes. Now's the right time.
Now is the right time. How do you know? Because you say so?
Because I was thirsty. Drinking 2 glasses of water in the morning helps activate internal organs.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And drinking 1 glass of water before a meal will help you deal with digestion.
That I did know.
Mm-hmm.
That I did know, and I actually do that. I always drink some water before I eat.
And it also helps you not to eat as much if you're trying to lose a couple of pounds.
I knew that too.
And if you add a couple drops of fresh lemon, that's
I do that.
always
as you
refreshing.
know, because you're always drinking my water.
And drinking 1 glass of water before a shower helps prevent high blood pressure.
Really?
Mm-hmm. It has to do with, taking a hot shower.
Really?
Mm-hmm. It brings your blood pressure up. So if you drink a glass of water before the shower, it will normalize your blood pressure, stop it from going up.
Very, very cool.
And drinking a glass of water before bed helps prevent strokes or heart attack.
Very cool. But the problem with that sometimes is that like at 3 o'clock in the morning, then you have to pee.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, stroke, pee in the middle of the night,
Well, I guess you decide for yourself which is more important.
Yeah, waking up in the middle of the night with
the pee.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3.
But anyway, getting back to nuts. Do you like nuts?
I love nuts.
You do?
I do.
Yeah. How many nuts do you normally eat at a time?
Well, that all depends.
What's your favorite nut?
I think you know. I'm sitting right next to one.
Wow.
Sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't.
Well, eating a modest amount of nuts every day might significantly reduce your risk of dying from a number of chronic diseases.
Wow. You make it so, dying. You're going to die if you don't eat your nuts. Wow.
I always have my nuts with me.
I know you.
Wherever I go.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing. Now, if you didn't, that would be a problem.
Yes, that is true.
Mm-hmm. Because you don't want to die.
No.
And you would definitely die without them.
I would die without my nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
All right. So let's just make everybody aware that we must eat nuts.
That's right.
Cashews are delicious.
Mm-hmm.
Almonds are really great. But even, I know peanuts are actually legumes and not actually considered nuts, but I think they're pretty nutty. So I like them.
Yes, they're good.
And walnuts are good too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, Okay. The diseases that eating nuts helps include is heart disease, which has been the most studied benefit of the nut, but also cancer and stroke,
Really?
respiratory disease, and brain diseases.
Very nice.
And you were right about peanuts. They are legumes, and they're not technically a nut. And peanut butter did not offer any benefit at all, but the peanuts did.
Yeah, I knew that they would.
Researchers took data from over 120,000 Dutch people who've been taking part in this Netherlands study since 1986.
Okay.
All right. And people who regularly ate nuts had a reduced risk of developing neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's.
Oh, really? I mean, well, you know what? We do eat a lot of nuts. I mean, because they're a really great source
They're a
of
great snack.
protein. And we know that they're healthy. And the fat that they have is not a hydrogenized fat. So it's really, they're very healthy for you. Like avocados, that kind of thing.
Oh, yes.
You know what I mean? But, and they're good for your brain. Nut fats are good for your brain.
Now, is avocado a nut? Is it a fruit?
No,
Is it a vegetable?
It's. I think it's like considered a fruit, right?
It has a pit.
Yeah, so I think it's considered a fruit.
Now, what is it? Seeds are
Seeds and
vegetables.
pits, seeds. Well, also like tomatoes have seeds, and they're considered fruits.
Yes, they are.
Yes, they are.
A lot of people think it's a vegetable, though, but it is
That
actually
is
a fruit.
true, but it is actually a fruit. But anyway, we're not talking about avocados and tomatoes. We're talking about
We're
nuts.
talking about nuts, and there's a bunch of them right in this room today.
Yeah.
Anyway, for somebody who
Speak
ate
for yourself.
For someone who ate 10 or more grams of nuts per day, it was about 45% less risk of getting Alzheimer's than someone who ate no nuts at all.
Really?
In March, a JAMA internal medicine study found that people who ate nuts, including peanuts, had a significantly lower risk of death from heart disease and overall mortality.
Very
Now,
interesting.
It's not necessarily the most expensive variety of nuts that gives you the benefit.
I wouldn't think it would be. I would think that any good nut will do.
That's right. And it doesn't matter the type of nut or how big or small the nut is.
Ah, very interesting.
And about a handful of nuts was the effective dose.
And really any kind of nut? Because like what if you feel like having pistachios or Brazil nuts or macadamias? Any kind of nut will do?
You'll just be licking your lips and going, these nuts were so tasty.
And what about, if they're salty or if they're not salty or if they're roasted or raw?
Just plain old nuts.
So it doesn't really matter what you do.
No, does
As
not.
long as you eat the nuts.
That's right.
I will make sure I do.
And a handful a day was the right dose, as I said. And more than that really didn't seem to
Well, you know
make a
what?
difference.
Anything more than a handful is wasted.
I have heard that before. So you want to enjoy your nuts while you can.
Oh, I agree.
You want to keep them packed closely.
Absolutely.
And as you said, about a handful is all you need.
I agree.
Unlike nuts, Americans eat stuff that's banned in other countries.
I know this.
Of course you do. You know
Of course I
everything.
know this. No, but you know the reason why? I mean, in my opinion, I think the reason that we Americans eat so many things that are banned in other countries is because, unfortunately for us, America is more concerned with the monetary gains that they can make and not so concerned with
You're talking
what we
about
eat.
some of the
food
major
companies.
food manufacturers. Yeah.
Yeah, I am. And I think I'm right too. What do you think?
Of course, I think you're right. You're always right.
Not always, but a lot of the time.
And, it's interesting because, we live in a country that's full of people trying to get healthier. People are starting exercise plans. They're incorporating superfoods into their
course.
diet.
Of course, and then we have to deal with that.
And generally speaking, we are becoming more aware of what it means to be healthy.
I agree.
And just like you said, unfortunately, becoming healthier is made much more difficult by many of the large food corporations, which value profit over health.
You know, they're making foods that they think are going to have less calories, less products, all kinds of things. What it ends up having are chemicals.
Mm-hmm.
What they actually end up having are chemicals in their products. So we're consuming crazy things that we can't pronounce.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the FDA doesn't always do a good job of, protecting us from the dangerous preservatives and additives that they put in our food. And this places the burden on us to educate ourselves to know what to avoid. And if you listen to our show every week, we've got tons of valid information on health and wellness.
And sex. Don't forget sex. But for starters, we have some of the worst offenders, which are banned in other countries, but not here in the U.S.
Like artificial food colorings.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. Some artificial food colorings and dyes are derived from petroleum, the same petroleum used to make gasoline.
So
asphalt,
our cars can move, but we don't move from that.
That's right.
We get sick from that.
Yeah. And the health risks of these artificial food colorings are brain cancer, hyperactivity in children, and nerve cell deterioration, which have, been linked to consuming these artificial food colorings.
Well, think about it. We're not meant to drink gasoline.
No. And, food colorings were banned in France, Finland, Norway, the UK, and Austria.
It's very nice for them.
Yeah, what are some of the ingredients?
Very healthy.
Yes, they are.
They are very blessed. Some of these ingredients, sodium lactate palm fat, some artificial flavoring and coloring. Oh, listen, this is a good one. FD&C blue number 1, yellow number 5, and red number 40.
All in one little piece of candy.
And there's something I really can't pronounce, and I'm not even going to try.
And you don't want to eat that.
But it has 13 letters. There's a few X's in it.
Another one is antibiotic-filled meat.
Isn't that awful?
Mm-hmm. And antibiotics are commonly fed to U.S. farm animals so that they'll grow faster and prevent them from illnesses. And this particular practice, is linked to an increase of antibiotic-resistant bacteria, which we've talked about in previous shows.
Absolutely. And that means when you become ill, you are actually resistant to medication that's going to help you get better.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And the thing is that people do become ill because your resistance is low because you're eating so much crap. And half of you, unfortunately, don't even realize it. You think you're doing something, you think you're doing it the right way. You go to, for instance, your doctor to get a weight loss plan. And your doctor says, you need to buy this, 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 and this. And you go to the grocery store and you pick it up. And you don't even realize your doctor is telling you, get these things that have all of these ingredients in them that you can't pronounce and eat them because they're low in calories or low in fat.
Mm-hmm.
But they're high in so many other things that don't make your body move well. That's why, how I'm always projecting, I'm always saying healthy foods, one ingredient foods that you can pronounce. Shop the perimeter of your grocery store.
Grocery store, yes. That's where all the healthy stuff is.
Absolutely. It's the interior that you want to stay away from.
Mm-hmm. And antibiotic-filled meats are banned in the European Union, Australia, and New Zealand.
Oh my gosh!
And what's interesting? The in the restaurants that I frequent, I have found that there are things on the menu that will say New Zealand mussels.
Oh yeah.
And they're farmed, and they don't have these antibiotics that are used, and the New Zealand and Australia.
Spit it out.
What are those baby ribs called? The pork lollipop, lamb chops. Oh,
Lamb chops.
Let's go. I got it marked.
okay. New Zealand lamb chops, very, very tasty.
They are. They're like little lollipops.
Mm-hmm.
A little lamb chop lollipop.
And I don't know if you mentioned something today, or maybe it was the last thing we recorded, but fat-free foods containing olestra.
Oh my gosh. Very, very, very bad. Oh my gosh. You know what happens though? You know what's so interesting about this with olestra? Olestra reacts in your belly so quickly that I think this is why they want you to eat it, because you have diarrhea. And so you're losing weight. So it's doing exactly what it said. If you eat the olestra, you're going to lose weight because you're sick, because you can't go to work, because you're embarrassed and you need Depends. I mean, there's a whole bunch of things.
That's right. You know, it's crazy. We've been told that fat-free and light foods are better for us. But what you don't know is that many of these foods contain this olestra, and it's a fat substitute which can cause anal leakage.
Which was what I was just saying.
Which is what you just said.
You need Depends. I want to tell you something, but you know what, everybody? You know what is fat-free? Celery, carrots, peppers, most fruits, a lot of vegetables, and they're delicious. There are even breads that are very, very low in fat, but they're made with grains. Oatmeal, not a bad thing for you if you need to have some starch. Really, rice, potatoes, they're fine for you. They really are if you eat them in moderation. It's when you start eating potato chips made with olestra. That's a problem.
That's right. And it also causes certain vitamin deletions. And wasn't there a pill that was out a few years ago?
Oh my God, yes.
You know what I'm talking
Xenadrin.
about? No, not the Xenadrin. This was a pill that you took, and what it did was it absorbed the whatever it was
and
you
then
ate.
you pooped it out.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that was called Olean.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think.
Okay. But I don't know why I thought Xenadrin had something to do with that also.
Xenadrin is like caffeine on steroids.
Oh, is it?
I think so, yeah.
I'm getting my medications mixed up. I'm getting the pills mixed up. That's because I don't take them and I don't really know enough about them. That's what it is. But yes, Olean, you're absolutely right.
Well, these two items were banned in the UK and Canada, to only name a few. So many more.
Wow. Well, it's really nice to know that these governments take care of their people. I guess they don't want them to get sick.
You got me.
Do I? Looks like I'm stuck with them.
And something that we've been talking about for months and months are genetically engineered foods.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
GMOs.
GMOs. Mm-hmm.
Now, we do have evidence that there may be catastrophic. Let me try this again.
Say it again, Sam. Actually, it's play it again, Sam. Would you like a sip of my root beer as we're sitting here talking about this shit?
Okay. I'm going to give it another shot.
Okay. Shoot it up. Go.
Alrighty. We do have evidence that GMOs may have a catastrophic effect on animals' health. And research has found that animals fed diets containing GMOs, genetically modified foods, have suffered tumors, birth defects, intestinal and organ damage, and sterility by the third generation.
So here's my thought. The people who create these genetically modified organisms are actually using these things on animals and learning how bad they are. Now, here's my thought, actually. I think they should take these things themselves and try it on themselves and their own family members. Leave the animals alone and not put us through all this crap and see what happens to, their stomachs and their bodies and their own families. Well, I'm sorry. I know it's terrible.
That's not going to happen.
I know it's not going to happen, but really?
But if we have research and we know that these GMO foods,
we know it's bad.
You'll you'll get tumors, birth defects, organ damage.
Why do it? Why eat it?
What's going to happen to you and I and our families if we are eating these genetically modified foods? It's going to
Thank God
happen
I'm
to
not.
us. And third generations for us are, 30 years need to go by. By that time, we're slowly killing ourselves.
Yeah, and they're allowing it.
And the most when I go to the grocery store, if I'm going to get any papayas or corn or any other type of crops, I look for the label that says GMO free.
Oh, so do I.
And I know they're working on it to have that labeled on all foods now.
Yeah, it's very, very important. But more importantly than that, I mean, the whole point is that they're not stopping. So we need to educate ourselves. We need to learn and we need to understand what these products and what these horrible, horrible ingredients are doing to us.
And if you go back to our earlier shows, maybe from a year ago, we had a young lady who was an expert
Well,
on
yeah, she was
GMOs.
discussing a lot about that, but I think that we're also becoming experts ourselves because we do so much research.
Right, but I never heard of GMOs before she was on our show. So, Margaret, thank you so much for letting us know about GMOs, and
Yeah.
we are
Thank
finding
God.
out more and more about this particular modified engineered food. Anyway, the GMOs are banned in France, Germany, Austria, Greece, Hungary, and Luxembourg.
Oh, so we can go to Luxembourg and enjoy some
and get a nice
GMO-free food.
Get a nice ear of corn.
Perfect.
And another thing that we talked
You are
about.
just going on.
Well, I just I have diarrhea of the mouth. I must have had some
Thank God you don't
Olestra
eat.
today.
Yeah, he's spitting.
One of the things that we talked about again earlier in our shows were drinks containing brominated vegetable oil, the BVOs. Now, this addition to some sports drinks and sodas, they act as an emulsifier, which means it stops the beverage flavor from separating and floating to the top of the drink.
Ew.
Remember that? Yeah.
Ew, that's just gross.
And too much of this stuff will cause thyroid problems.
And that's why a beautiful, icy, delicious glass of water or club soda seltzer, something if you need some bubbles.
Squeeze a lemon in
with
it.
some lemon, lime, maybe some grapefruit or orange.
An orange. Yes.
Yeah, some cucumber, maybe a little mint. It's delicious and hydrating and fabulous.
Yes, it is. And these
And good for you, too.
these BVOs are banned in over 100 countries. Which
But let me ask you something. We still can have them here, right?
yeah, we still can drink them here.
Thank God. Woohoo! Yeah. Uh-huh.
Well, I don't drink soda, especially diet soda.
Well, soda is so bad for you. We always say no soda. If it removes paint from a car, it's going to damage your belly.
That's right. Foods containing flour bleached with azoid carbonamide.
Wait. Say that again, and I want you to say it fast and 5 times. Because this is what I'm talking about. If you can't pronounce it, don't eat it.
Azoid carbonamide.
I don't even want to.
Azoid carbonamide.
No. Stop it. I don't even want to see the word. I'm not even going to pronounce it myself.
Alrighty. This is the stuff that makes flour white. But
You know what? Here's the thing. Why do we need the flour to be white?
because it looks pretty.
But why do we need the flour to be white?
Well, flour will naturally whiten in about a week. All by itself,
why do we
with
need
no
to-
azocarbonamide.
Whatever it is. Why do we need to do that? If they didn't start doing that, we wouldn't have known the difference.
That's true, but we didn't know all the health risks, I guess, way back when we
What was
started
the
bleaching
reason-
flour.
What was the reason they had to bleach it? Like, see, that's why if you're going to get flour, get the unbleached
The
flour.
unbleached flour.
Yeah, because you don't need to have bleach. Why would you want to eat bleach?
Yeah, that chemical
You
that
clean with bleach, but
that
you
I-
don't want to eat it.
that I can't pronounce is actually found in all rubber products, including your yoga mat.
Okay, but I can understand having it in a yoga mat because you want the yoga mat to be bouncy enough so that when you're balancing yourself on your knees, then you're fine.
But not in your bagels and bialy.
Yeah, I don't need that in my bialy. Exactly. If I'm going to eat a bialy.
That ADA is linked to the risk of asthma, allergies, and other skin problems.
I believe it is.
And
you know why? Because it's not pure enough, so it's trying to come out of your system like a toxin. Mm-hmm. So that's why your skin will look bad when toxins try and come out. Exactly.
That's right. And
are you yawning?
And do you know that, it's banned in many countries, including Singapore, where if a food manufacturer uses it, he can get up to 15 years in prison for adding it to their food products.
Well, he wouldn't do that in Singapore because why would he want to go to jail?
That's right. They don't do it. But if they did, they'd wind up going to jail.
And if they steal, they're going to get their hand cut off. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's, they're very, very serious there.
And, as far as hormones go, and we know exactly how to make a hormone. I know exactly how to make a hormone. And what they're doing is they're infusing hormones in meat and dairy. And some farms, especially the factory farms, not your little organic mom and pop farms, they inject a synthetic hormone into cows that will boost the growth and the milk production. Wow. And, these fake hormones have also been linked to breast, colon, and prostate cancer. Amazing. That is unbelievable. Yeah, this practice has been banned all over the European Union, as well as Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and Japan. Amazing. It's terrible. So, they tell you to eat a lot of chicken. Yeah. Chicken is good and healthy for you. Well, they want you to eat lean proteins and stuff. Mm-hmm. Do you know that poultry contains arsenic? Not all poultry. Well, this chemical is used in some chicken feed to make the meat appear pinker and fresher. Oh, my gosh. No, arsenic is a poison. Enough said. Yeah. I don't even think we need to discuss that anymore. Yeah, and that has been banned in the European Union since 1999. Wow. So for the past 15, 16 years, our chicken has had arsenic in it? Some of the feed has arsenic in it. Yeah. Well, if the chicken is eating the arsenic, then the arsenic is in the chicken. Yes. You are what you eat. Yes. We know that. We definitely know that. We're definitely arsenic poisoned. Oh, no, that's no good. For the sake of you and your family's health, make it a habit to read the labels. Choose grass-fed meats. Now, something interesting about grass-fed meats, they're a little tougher than these hormone-injected. So maybe that's part of why these food companies will use. You know what, though? If you eat well and you eat a nice, balanced, good, 3 meals a day of fresh fruits, vegetables, and lean proteins, and then you have your little snacks in between that happen to be well maintained, you're going to have healthy teeth. So if the meat's a little bit tougher, it's okay. You'll be able to chew it. That's right. And keep a lookout for strangely colored food items, and like we said, stay away from gray. And go organic whenever you can. Absolutely. And don't forget to listen to our show where you get great information like this every week, 3 times a week. You'll be glad you did.
Need a salon that's about the whole you? Precision haircuts, flawless makeup, impeccable nails, top-rated professional hair products. Anthony Vincent Salon. Looking for a hairstylist who has his finger on the pulse of all the latest trends? Anthony Vincent Salon. Looking for a dependable salon with over 35 years in the industry? Anthony Vincent Salon. Looking for New York City and internationally trained stylists that will create the perfect look for you? Anthony Vincent Salon. Shine brightly while walking down the aisle. Anthony Vincent Salon. For a longer, thicker your beautiful hair extensions, Anthony Vincent Salon. Incredible makeup applications for weddings, proms, or any special occasions. Anthony Vincent Salon. Have dry, brittle summer hair? Get a hot shot. Anthony Vincent Salon. Before you put a ring on it, manicure it. Anthony Vincent Salon. Your image is their specialty. For the 150,000 hairs on your head, there's only one choice. Anthony Vincent Salon. For a more beautiful you, call now 609-448-2212 and follow them on Twitter.
And now, a money moment with our very own DC Alexander.
And the financial voice for baby boomers, New York Times bestselling author of Money Doesn't Grow on Trees, Neil Godfrey.
Listen closely.
You'll be glad you did.
Welcome to another edition of Fun with Finances. I'm your host, Dina Coburn, and I am continuing my special series with financial educator, speaker, motivator, and author Neil Godfrey. We talked more about the Green Street Commons and the apps that you created, teaching children about finances early in their years. We were talking about the echo effect. Can you tell me a little bit more about what that echo effect is?
Well, it's interesting because the behavior of saving money and saving resources is actually the same. So I combined those two activities, and I created the echo effect, the greening of money. And eco is economics, saving money, and ecology, saving resources. And the whole idea is that together we can save money and save resources. And again, it's raising consciousness and changing behavior within the household.
That's very interesting. Some of the pieces that you have within Green Street Commons, some of the learning pieces in there, can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. One of the things that's exciting about Green Street's Common is what we're doing is we're combining the virtual world of gameplay through the apps with actual world of learning. So on one side, the kids, in essence, do chores within gameplay to earn money. But in real life, we have what we call job cards for parents and grandparents to work with their kids so that they can do jobs and earn money in real life. And then using the app, after they do the chore, and mom and dad or grandma and grandpa give them, let's say, $1 for a chore, then they can hold the app over a job card, and through the use of augmented reality, we actually send $25 of in-game money into the game. So again, we're bridging the virtual world of gameplay with the actual world of doing and earning money.
Neil, you also contribute to Forbes Weekly and have some great articles there. Recently, I saw one about millennials and baby boomers and how they work together, and then things change. Do you think that these two generations can effectively work side by side?
Absolutely, they can work side by side, and we have to learn to work side by side. And frankly, every generation grumbles about the next generation coming in. And we have so much to offer each other. We would be nuts not to. And that's my thing. Figure it out. Understand how they work, why they work, what they are, who they are. And that's, I'm saying it to both generations. Figure it out together.
Yeah, it was very interesting to me because we had baby boomers had a perception of millennials and millennials had a perception of baby boomers. And then it turned out after your research that really they want the same things. They just communicate differently, and we need to figure out how to effectively communicate with both parts.
Exactly.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
There was another article that initially didn't catch my eye, and that was Is Feminism Dead? And I was actually extremely shocked by your experience back in the Chase days. And could you tell me a little bit about this article? It was very interesting.
Well, you know, I was hired as one of the first female executives to go through this training program, which is kind of the boot camp of learning, to be able to lend money. And they brought me in at the same salary that the men were, and then the head of personnel, who, by the way, was a woman, called me in and said, you're a young woman. You should not be earning what the men are earning. And we were earning $11,000 a year, and she reduced my salary to $6,500 a year, almost half.
Yeah.
And there was nothing I could do. And I said, what can I do to earn what they're earning? And she said, well, graduate first in your class. And I did. And I went back in, and she said, "Oh, no, we can't bring your salary up that much. Who told you that?" And I said, "You did." And she said, "Oh, no, can't do that." So it was what it was.
It's interesting because I have experienced many things like this in my career, and it must have been so difficult for you to just bite your tongue at that moment. I can't even imagine because you just think that's not fair. You want to kind of stamp your feet and say that is not fair. You promised me, but you couldn't do that. You needed to keep your job. You wanted to keep your job, and you wanted to move forward, and you wanted to prove them wrong, right?
Exactly.
So I commend you on that, because I'm sure that a lot of other women who would be listening to this would not be able to contain themselves and kind of look the other cheek like you did. Neil returns with me next week on Trend Radio on 920 The Voice. I'm Dina Coburn.
I'm Anthony Vincent of Anthony Vincent Salon. Time for another fun and fabulous beauty tip with our tip chick. And here she is.
Got static? Does your hair fly away? Prioritize and winterize. Spritz your hairbrush, comb through, and now you're ionized. Say hello to beautiful.
Remember, for the 150,000 hairs on your head, there's only one choice. Call us now at 609-448-2212. You'll be glad you did. Elise, we have another fabulous guest today.
We always have fabulous guests, but this one in particular, I love.
Yes, and so do I. His name is DJ Haslett, and he is an independent artist for Grounds for Sculpture.
I know he is, because if you remember, we have one of his amazing pieces right in the salon.
Ah, yes.
Combing the Universe with Anthony Vincent. Remember?
And that's right. And we get a lot of comments on that.
Absolutely. Remember our unveiling?
Yeah,
it was
we had
fantastic.
a great unveiling. Yeah.
It was fantastic. Well, let's say good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Dan. Welcome to our show.
Appreciate it.
We
It's
are
really
so happy
fun
to have
be
you.
here.
We're happy to have you, and we are excited to hear all about what you're doing, how you've become an artist, how you've progressed.
And he's not just an artist. He's a poet, published, let me
Yes.
just say that, a musician, and a photographer. Yeah, he does a lot.
I told you he was a cool guy.
I knew he was a cool guy. I knew it.
And we have known Dan for
Ever.
many years.
Forever.
And has always been an artist at heart. But you know what? Why don't we let him tell us his story?
It's going to be hard for you because you like to talk so much.
Yeah, that's me.
Dan, tell
That's
us
me.
all about you. Tell us about you.
Dan, first of all, welcome to the show.
Yes,
It's
welcome.
really
Thank you
great
so much.
to
It's
finally
morning.
have you
here,
on.
and I really appreciate the opportunity. The main thing is that I want to basically promote the arts.
Of course.
I do art and all that, but I want to promote the arts too. And it quickly, the story is that when I was 49 years old, my youngest daughter, Casey, was going to college, and she started to bring home books on poetry, on sculpture, on art, and so forth. And I said, let me take a look at that. And I did. And then it just exploded from there.
Wow.
I started to write poetry. I started to paint. I started to do photography and sculpture and that type of thing. At that point, I was actually still in business, in the insurance business. And when I was 55 years old, my company said, we don't need you anymore, as happens to a lot of people. And it was a real blessing because I had already been doing art for 6 years. And they, at that point, they eliminated my job. But I had been over to Grounds for Sculpture here in Hamilton and done some poetry readings. And I went over and I said, listen, I don't care if I sweep the floor. I would like to be around art and learn. And I was lucky enough to get a part-time job, which then went into a full-time job. And being there is like being at a university because you learn so much. The people are very good with that. I also do docent work or tour work over there. So every time we get new artists in, we get information. We're taught about that. And also I've built a large library of books on art. Some of the people there have gone through college and have degrees, and they'll give the books to me and say, I don't need them anymore. So I use those books. and I've learned a lot. So that's how I actually got started, and that was 16 years ago.
Wow, that time has just flown by.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing, though, also how you start out doing one thing and somehow, some way, you end up doing another, and it turns out to be like the love of your life.
It is, and that's one of the things that I wanted to emphasize. There are people that I run into, and they always say, "Oh, I'm not creative." I said, "Did you get up this morning and decide how you combed your hair? Did you decide what you were going to wear today, what color, and all this and that?" Everybody's creative. Everything is creative, and everything is art. Everything. Whoever built this building had to design it. Now, some of it's more functional as opposed to non-functional, but everybody is creative. And that's the point I want to make. You know, don't be afraid of it. Just go and do it.
Like your shirt.
Yeah.
Fear no art.
That's why I wear the shirt. It says "Fear no art." People look at it. What do you mean by that? Don't be afraid of it. Just go ahead and do it. And you know what? There's a song by the Carpenters that went way back.
Mm-hmm.
Sing your song. Doesn't matter if it's not good enough for anybody else to hear. Just sing your song. That's the point. Just go ahead and do it. It's so great to express yourself and have fun with it. And cooking, whatever it is. But everyone is creative. And the point is that you can go after that creativity, or maybe you don't want to, but that's fine too. But, don't say I'm too old. Don't say I'm too young. Don't say I can't, because that's not true. You'd be surprised. I read a story about a guy who retired at 65 and was on the floor with his granddaughter playing with clay. Now has a gallery in Paris doing sculpture.
Wow.
So he didn't discover this. That's why you got to try different things and not be afraid. I think a lot of it is courage. I say you need 3 things to be an artist. Number 1, you need imagination. If you see something, how can you do it in a different way? Maybe you want to make a tree blue. So what? Go ahead and do that.
Hey, if it's what you see.
That's right. So, imagination, and then endless curiosity. How did they do that? How did they ask the people? They'll tell you. I'm very blessed to have artists over where I work, and I can say, "Hey, I'm working with this. How do I do this?" And they'll say, "Well, okay, here's what you need to do." And then courage, because you need courage to put it out there. And don't say, "Oh, I don't know." Put it out there. Let somebody look at it. I've been in situations where I didn't tell people who I was and walked over to a piece of my art and said, "What do you think of it?" And they said, This is garbage. You know what I mean? I could do better than that. Well, that's a win, because the point is it encourages them to do something.
You told me this story once. They said they can do that, but they didn't.
That's the point.
And they never thought about doing it.
Right.
And it never happened for them. Mm-hmm. So if you want to elaborate on that a little bit.
Well, some of the art that we really recognize, you could copy, but again, going back to imagination, if you have the imagination, you come up with the idea. And again, I love to talk to people because I used to be in news. Matter of fact, I might mention that I used to be actually working for WPST, which is your sister station.
Yes, that is correct.
And I did news back in the 80s when a lot of the people on the air now weren't even born yet. But I have a real curiosity about everything. And just have curiosity and ask questions and that kind of thing, too.
It's so interesting how it says fear no art, or just don't fear. Mm-hmm. It's so interesting because Anthony and I always say that, danger is real, but fear is a choice. Mm-hmm. So, don't choose to be fearful. No, choose to just let go and just do it.
That's exactly it.
That is it. Yeah, it's amazing.
Put yourself out there and don't think that your art isn't good enough to put into a show. We are very lucky to be in an area where there are all kinds of art organizations. All kinds of art organizations.
We've been to one of your shows also. You had a show in Hamilton, remember?
In Robbinsville,
Robbinsville
Library.
Yeah. And you have pieces there, don't you, permanently?
Hamilton Library, I have pieces that are permanent.
Okay.
Some couple pieces outside and then some inside too.
Oh, that's awesome.
And that's another thing I might mention, which I wanted to bring up, is that, if you are an artist and you have a sculpture that can go outside and take care of the weather, and also it has to be something with, it's outside, it's public art. People are going to touch it and all that. Maybe you want to call the library, or you could even go to my website, and because we're looking for we're looking for pieces from time to time to put over there too.
That's awesome.
You would say that we have a permanent piece of art hanging in my salon.
Yes, that's right.
And do you want to tell our listeners how that piece came about?
We were talking about, at that point, you were doing a grand reopening.
Yes, we remodeled the salon.
Remodeled it. And you said, can you come up with an original piece of art? And so I sat down, and again, you let your imagination wander. And that's what I did. I went over ideas and this and that and all that. And
Was that for the 35th anniversary?
I believe it was.
Yeah, that was.
So came up with the idea of having a bunch of I asked you to get a bunch of combs. And what it is, it's a abstract, sort of like a Jackson Pollock drip painting with combs on it.
Actually, it's the cover photo now for our Facebook page.
Isn't that interesting?
Everybody listening, just go to Anthony Vincent Salon, like our page, of course, and you'll also get to see DJ's work.
It's
because
great.
That's the cover photo.
And that's the idea, combing the universe. In other words, one head at a time. Right?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
But I just came up with the idea, and then we talked about it a little bit, and then went in and hung it. That was interesting, hanging that thing to get it the way. Oh my God, I'll never forget it.
Remember, we were measuring and labeling and putting little X's everywhere.
Making sure we didn't break anything. I know.
Oh, yeah.
But it's really cool. It's just fun to be creative.
Absolutely. And you are so creative.
Now,
sorry. I love the guitars that we saw also.
That's what I was going to say.
I know. Sorry, your head is wide open.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, those guitars.
Dan is an accomplished guitarist.
Yes, I know.
He has
and artist.
A band with the African Congo.
Right.
player.
I have a couple friends of mine, and we are more or less would get together and then play some open mic nights, that kind of thing too.
Oh, that's cool.
So you get to go and you play maybe 3 songs, 4 songs, and you get to have your friends with you. And there's like no pressure. It's just a lot of fun to do it. And when you do an open mic night, everybody's very caring and all that type of thing too. And it's tough for people who have not performed before to get up and do that. So I give them a lot of credit. I really do.
Yeah, I think I kind of horned in on you once and said that I wanted to go up on mic night with you and just play a little background guitar with you, just for the sake of doing it.
We'll do that sometime.
Yeah,
why not?
Absolutely.
It's good.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. There's a couple other things that I wanted to go over. That my website, by the way, is DJ Haslett, HASLETT.com. And you can go on there and see some of the work that I have done. And you can leave me a note. Now, I'm not going to take your information and give it to anybody, but it's easy to get to me through the email. And another thing I wanted to say is that I've been really successful with donating artwork to worthy nonprofits. And if they have a fundraiser, you take a piece of my art, if they like it, and they auction it off. And I've been really felt very rewarded about doing that too.
Oh,
so
that's just wonderful.
So if you come to the website, you can say, I belong to XYZ. We have a fundraiser. I can send you an image and see if you're interested in doing that. And I want to get the work out there,
That's a beautiful thing.
Elise started to say something about the guitars. Now, you have been doing some very interesting things focusing on guitars. Can you tell us a little bit about the paintings, the sculptures, the huge giant guitar that you've been talking about?
Basically, I've done 30 paintings or mixed medias on a series called Gathering Guitars.
Now, what is mixed media for
Mixed media would be that some of the pieces involve not only painting, but they might involve metal and that type of thing.
Nails and screws and
nails
bolts.
and screws and all that. So anything that's more than one medium, you can call mixed media. And then also working on cement guitars, which I'm involved in putting them at different places. They do get moved around a little bit, but one is the Hamilton Library, and one is the Strawbey Center, which is in Pennington. That type of thing. So they're moved, they're cleaned up, and all that kind of thing too. And I have a friend of mine who is a professional artist and installer. His name is Eric Schultz. And I'm so lucky, again, to have somebody help me, because some of these things I'm doing for the first time. to put them outside and that kind of thing.
Now, how big is this one guitar that we've been talking about for the last couple of months, you and I?
It's 6 feet, and the base is 1 foot. So we're talking about a 7-foot guitar.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Now, what does that bad boy weigh in your
200 pounds.
Oh, okay.
It's not really that heavy.
Okay.
People say, why do you use cement? Because I can't afford to go through the real fancy stuff like bronze and all that.
But I love cement. I think cement's
Right.
awesome.
And you don't believe how much I've learned about cement putting this together. You know?
Cement is awesome.
So,
Very
Tell
cool.
us a little bit about the cement.
well,
I want to know.
Well, the thing of it is that I went and talked to people that work in construction, and they told me, be aware of this, reinforce it that way. And I did have one crack, that kind of thing too. So you talk to the artist and you talk to the people that work with the materials, and it's all free. The people will help you. You buy them lunch and all that.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love that.
So again, you're talking about courage, curiosity, and imagination, and talk to a lot of different people. They'll give you
Very
information.
cool. Really cool. So Dan, tell us about your website.
This is an interesting story because I got a hold of some people that knew how to build a website.
Oh, fantastic.
And I said, I'll pay you so much an hour to build this website. And one of the things is I did not want it to be complicated with bells and whistles and all this and that, because there is a few things. I mean, I go on different websites, sports and all that kind of thing, and some of it's so complicated. So I made it very, very simple. You simply go onto the website, which is djhaslett.com, and you'll see tabs across the top. A tab has a bio, it has contact, and one would be paintings. If you go on there and you hit that, it brings up paintings that I've done over the last 16 years. Probably the guitars are the ones that stand out. I'm really working on all guitar things at the moment. Poetry, that's recorded in a studio here in Trenton. And that's another thing I want to mention. I've had teachers go on my website and bring up the poetry tab and play the poetry, because a lot of the poetry has either sounds behind it or music, and use that as a lesson plan to get their students to say, okay, now you do poetry and put something behind it. So anybody's welcome to go and use that.
Well, I'm just going to tell you, I just pulled up your website, and you're absolutely right. It's extremely friendly.
It's very simple to plug into that.
And there's some great things. I love it. You have the picture of the guitar.
Mm-hmm.
It's fantastic.
So that's important. And what else was I going to say? There's just a lot of different things you can go on. One of the things that's really interesting about it is there's a music tab, and if you hit that, you'll see me and my the person I work with, Autumn Wright, who's also an artist, on the drums. And we were just doing a few covers. But if you go down, you'll see an old record that goes back to 1966 when I was 17 years old. We cut a record in Somerville on WGW Records. And I put that record on my website. So you can actually go in and play this record that I recorded back in the 60s. So it's a lot of fun. You know what I mean? It's just really fun. And I really enjoy it. But it's very simple. It's very simple to go on that. Yeah.
It's fantastic.
That's the old
really
record
is.
label that's on there, too.
Amazing.
So, I'm having a lot of fun with it. Again, I had somebody build it. I have a webmaster now. The person that built it is not the webmaster. I brought another person on, and I pick up the phone and say, okay, they're on like a retainer. Say, can you do this? Can you move this around for me? That's important. So that's a lot of what I do and how I do it. And again, I want to really encourage people. Don't think you're too old or too young or not talented. Just do your art. And ask a lot of people. Some people don't want to put their art in shows. So there's a lot of places that call for art, call for artists. And they're open. You don't have to be a member of the organization. You may get in, you may not get in. We don't know. But the point is you're going to meet other artists, and you got to go into it with the attitude of not competition. You can look at something and say, that's really good the way they did that, but try not to compare your artwork, because your artwork is your artwork. And yes, you can get better at it, but it's not a competition. We're all brought up with competition. Oh, I can do better than that. Try to get over that. You put it in. If people like it, fine. If they don't, if there's somebody else there and you like their work, that's fine too. But you try to get over that. But initially, and you're going to get a feeling sometimes, I got into the show, I'm not really that good. Forget that. Forget that. Just try to get that out of your mind. You got the piece in the show.
Well, I think the truth is that it's not really about that. It's about, somebody's going to have a connection with something.
Right.
It's going to spur something in somebody else's mind.
Mm-hmm.
It's like people, we're always saying, it doesn't matter, you might not think that person is as beautiful as, the person that, he or she is with, but it's about their connection. So it's about your connection with whatever it is that you see.
Right. And then you have different kinds of art, like you have realism. I think that I don't do portraits. I don't think I could ever do them.
But you never know.
Yeah, well, you never know. If I wanted to, maybe I'd learn how to do it. But there's realism, and then there's also abstract, and there's also non-representational. So I'll give you an example. Realism might be a portrait, and abstract might be a stick figure, and just a blob of paint that you put on might be non-representational at all. So, some people don't like realism, or some people don't like abstract. But just enjoy it.
Some people don't like Da Vinci, and some people don't like Picasso.
Right.
So it's like all a matter of what you connect with.
And that's true.
Yeah.
You'll see somebody and they'll go, "Oh, I really like that," or you'll have. But a lot of it is large numbers.
Yeah. Well, this talks to me and this doesn't, but that's
right.
okay.
And I can say to somebody, "I don't really like this kind of art, but I can see all the work that went into it, and you're really good at it."
Well, that's incredible. Well, you're really good at what you do.
Well,
and that's
thank you.
what's important. And we're so blessed to have had you here today.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And if you're out there, just create however you do it.
Remember, just reach out and you can take a look at everything that he has at DJ Haslett, HASLETT.com.
You'll
That's
be
right.
glad you did.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you so much.
Dan, thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you.
It was terrific.
And you know what? I just want to say one thing, Anthony. I just want to reach out to my son, Zachary, and say happy birthday. He's turning 21 on the 1st of September, and I can't believe it. So be careful, Zach. I know you're going to Atlantic City. I know you're going to be just drinking. Be careful.
That's right. You're legal now.
Yeah, don't drive. Don't drive drunk.
You've been listening to Trend Radio, where we talk about what's hot and what's not every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Learn and laugh with us anytime, any place. Go right to our website, AnthonyVincentSalon.com. Click away and listen today.
And if you have a topic of interest that you want us to talk about, or you'd like to be a guest on our show, email us now at trendradio920@gmail.com. You'll be glad you did.
And remember, your smile is your logo, your personality is your business card.
But how you make people feel, that becomes your trademark.
I'm Anthony Vincent.
And I'm Elise.
And we'll talk to you next week.
Bye for now.